Welcome. My topic is CSS preprocessors. What are preprocessors? A CSS preprocessor can be defined as a tool that allows us to write CSS pseudocode that will then be compiled to become CSS as we know it. A preprocessor can use variables, conditions, loops, or functions, common elements of any programming language. For this reason, we could say that we have a programming language whose mission is to generate CSS code. The final objective of the CSS processors is to have a cleaner code that we can then use on the web pages that we will place on our servers, a code that is easier to maintain and edit. Advantages of preprocessors. Possibility of adding additional functionalities that are not possible to use in traditional CSS files, such as the use of variables and conditional logic. We will have a cleaner style sheet while making it more efficient and easier to maintain. It offers the possibility of reusing a lot of code, which translates into saving time and work. The changes will be much faster since we will only have to change the value of some variable. Helps create cross-browser compatible code, which is a boon for website designers. An abstraction layer is created, where we will not work directly on our CSS file, offering greater security. Most used preprocessors. There are several CSS preprocessors to choose from. However, most CSS preprocessors add some features that don't exist in pure CSS, such as variables, mix-ins, and nested selectors, among others. These features make the CSS structure more readable and easier to maintain. The most used preprocessors are Sass and Less. The most marked difference between them is the syntax. Similarities of Sass and Less. They are backward compatible. They use mix-ins. It uses certain control operations. Why use Sass? Because it has more potential, it allows you to create functions in a more practical way. It has more control functions, and the way of working in Sass is more user-friendly, especially if you don't have experience with preprocessors. However, they are both very powerful preprocessors and allow you to preprocess what you want. The first thing is to create a working folder. In it I will create my index.html file and my Sass file. It is very important that it has a Sass extension. We create the basic structure of HTML, and we create some information inside. If we do not want our Sass code to not be seen as plain text, we must install the Sass extension. By referencing the Sass file, the page will not display any style changes, so we use the following code in the terminal to compile our CSS file. When compiling, the best option is to use the watch command so that it updates the changes made in the CSS file and does not compile it. The information takes time, thus saving resources and time. We can see that the code generated in Sass has been converted into CSS language. We have acquired 2 new files. But it is not enough to compile and create a CSS file. Now you have to reference it. Now the style changes can be seen on the website. Sass has 2 syntaxes. Although I like this syntax better, we will change to the syntax that is more like CSS because it is more similar to the CSS language. For this we must also change the extension from .sass to .scss. Sass allows you to use variables to make easier changes to the CSS. As we can see, the variables are compiled in the CSS as they correspond. Now we will add the box class and some more code to the HTML. In SAS we can use nesting. We can create the rule or characteristics of box and place those of H2 and the paragraph inside, which is very practical. Let's pass the CSS rules from box to the new file. We can, if we want to have different files or modules to better organize the code, having a main file. For that to work, we must change the name to put _ to the file. As we see, the web page loses the design that we had given to box. For it to work, we must import the new file to the main one. Another good thing about SAS is the minxes, because they are like functions and even pass variables. For now the function does nothing. To see it working, let's pass the function to box with that include. We can change the background color, for example yellow. Let's double the number of boxes and pass the parameters of the function to the new boxes. The boxes do not look the same since it is a new class and does not take the individual parameters given above. We can work in SAS the minxes as we usually use the functions and change the background color to gray. In SAS you can also use operators. We will use them to change the size of the boxes and see how the CSS interprets it. Thank you very much to see.